Technically, the line is drawn between graffiti, which comes from Italian for little writing or scribbles, and that means that graffiti is text-based. So that's one sort of academic distinction, that graffitis are all based on a word, but usually a name. And street art tends to be more image-based. One of the things that they have in common is their kind of the dramatic, eye-catching quality. So they tend to be really bold. They tend to be very bright, really stylized. Especially with the text-based work, they're kind of mysterious, like you have to work a little bit to read them sometimes. So it's engaging because it pulls you in to try to figure it out. But they also are very energetic and colorful. Sometimes they're really provocative.
I don't know, I don't think there is a line. Okay, maybe there is like a really thin line, because I know in certain places you're not supposed to tag or do graffiti, but I feel like it's a form of art, it's a form of expression that we all see, and it's so interesting to see. I mean, I'm born and raised here, I've seen it my whole life.
It's a really gray line, it's a really blurred line. Like tagging graffiti, I associate them more with like gang-related, more vandalism related, more to cause damage and to mess with someone's property, rather than actually creating a beautiful piece of artwork. It's more of like marking, here I am. This is what I believe, or this is what I'm associated with. Whereas street art is more of, this is something that I see. This is a way to show a culture, show a piece of my mind, my beauty, and my marking to improve my community in a way that is visible, in a way that can be argumentative about a social issue, or can show some aspect of a culture, but it shows it in a way that isn't knocking down the community, but a way that would like bring it up.
I think a statement of wanting to be seen and wanting to be noticed, wanting to be given space and to take space. And I think so many people have not had that opportunity. Public spaces that do exist were put there lots of times without any public input, without any rest of the community saying, hey, we want this thing here. I think graffiti and street art is a way of pushing back against sometimes that sort of domination or authority that gets taken over by architecture and space. Visual landscape is totally cluttered with ads. We see things on a phone all the time. We see billboards, we see stuff, and it's all trying to sell something. And street art and graffiti are a statement. They're a personal statement that those artists are making.
Where else are people gonna do it? Where else are they gonna express themselves? Where are artists going to express themselves? I think that's the better questions. And I think people do it in a way so art can be seen, so the world can see, and the way people can see, because the city is not commissioning artists to do street art.
When I studied abroad, I went to Argentina, and that was my last semester here at UOP, and I had done like street art tours with them. They would do a lot of street art. There was street art everywhere. And I think the relationship that I built with that was one of like awe, because people actually went out and did this, and they were massive. They were on walls that were 2, 3, 4, 5 stories, and they were like, somehow put up, and they lasted. That was the cool part, is that they lasted, and people would walk by and they would be impressed by the look and the feel. But I guess the nice part about like the art was that it was people who were local who did it, and it was people who wanted to see their city in a different light that did it, and they brought a whole different sense of energy to the space with a piece of their own culture, and it was rooted within their community. And I think that my relationship with the street art in relation to that was that it was almost like people reclaiming their space and reclaiming a part of their society, part of their community, a part of their story. And I thought that was amazing. I've learned that street art is a way for people to voice what they're going through and express themselves and get out what is trapped inside of you. And I've appreciated people putting in the effort of doing that. There aren't a lot of places where people can go out and do something like that. And so when people go out and do it boldly, I commend them for it, for actually going out and doing something. There are different routes for art, and I think that there are different powers to it. If you go and you do a piece of art to showcase something, if you're angry, upset, and you're like, this issue needs to be addressed, show it, but there are consequences, and you could be destroying your community with it.
They have some different streams that have influenced both forms. Graffiti has kind of some strong roots in the 70s and 80s hip hop in the East, in Philadelphia and New York. And it was definitely a way for individuals to literally mark territory. We're always looking for a canvas. And at the time in New York, the Transit Authority specifically was out of money. So the subway cars were like a really ripe space for taggers to work because there's nobody patrolling the train yards. So taggers would create these beautiful canvases on the sides of trains and things like that. It became very structured, like certain people had certain lines that they could tag on, and there's a whole structure around it. And it kind of caught the art world's attention, and a number of artists were making work that was really influenced by that style, which is really bold. It can be people who haven't gone to art school, or maybe they have, like people like Keith Haring and Kenny Scharf kind of adopted that, and they made art in public as well, so that kind of merged into street art. But the history of street art, thinking about it as big images, kind of goes back to, I think, the idea of murals and large images in public spaces. And when we could look to churches or cathedrals for storytelling kinds of images that are meant to inform a public of a particular narrative, and they're available to anybody. You can walk in and just see them. Street art also has roots in the Mexican muralist movement of the early 20th century, and that helped really foster an idea of national identity for the Mexican population after the revolution. And street art, as we kind of know it now, also kind of comes from a protest movement in the 60s, and for which a lot of Black artists who were working, especially in the Bay Area, were really responsible for a lot of that work. It's kind of come and gone in terms of being formal or legitimate art, but it's always been happening, and it has, I think, at its core, a popular element that makes it really vital and accessible and interesting.
It can pop up anywhere, and usually it's communities who are underrepresented, who haven't had a place to speak up and speak out. And I think that artists who feel that, they're able to use that as a platform, as a medium to show hey, we're here and we're visible and our story matters.
I think the purpose definitely goes back to the individual's desire for self-expression, a place to say, I'm here, look at me, I'm taking up space, I have something to say, for credibility and for legitimacy.
Graffiti can be beautiful because it's people who are doing it, and I think that there's a real message behind them. I think all of them have a beauty. I think the thing about art is that there's a choice when you do it. You can choose to do it to destroy your community, or you can choose to do it in a way that uplifts your community.
It's a lot of people connecting with one another and the message coming across. That's what it comes down to, is people connecting to the message and people seeing the work. That's why I do it. That's why I love it, because I feel the energy. I love making big, amazing things for everybody to see, for everybody to share, because that's what art is all about. And I love the idea of that street art also being like that. But I know in my sense, in my experience, murals are really amazing and are really beautiful and it's something that I want to do, I don't know, everywhere. I want to do it in the city. I want buildings to be covered in murals, and it can be street art and murals. Art is everything, and I feel like it should, I don't know, be everywhere, and everybody should love it and enjoy it, and, I don't know, be educated by it in their own way,